What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 160. It is October 24th. Halloween is around the corner. The baseball season is in its final series and it is coming to an end. The NBA is in its first series and it's just starting. We got some winners and losers in the NFL to talk about. Boy, is it going to be a packed episode. And we're going to hopefully, we don't do it typically, speed run through it. What's going on, Brooklyn? How you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing terrible because that's
Yeah.
crazy that you say the MLB season's in its final stage because it ended last night. So
It did end last night. RIP
so
Yankees, RIP Padres. Well, we do have a cool World Series matchup. We'll just talk about that
yeah,
first right away, honestly, because that's the easy stuff. Phillies, they seem to be on a magical run. They almost didn't make
yeah.
the playoffs. The only reason they made it is because the Brewers had an absolute collapse the last week and a half of the season. So the Phillies sneak into the playoffs as the last seed. Crazy. They go in, they have to go and play the Cardinals. They wind up sweeping right? They swept the Cardinals? Yeah, they swept the Cardinals in the wild card for Yachty and Pujols last games as Cardinals. They move on. They have to play the Braves, the defending champions and division rivals. They did not play the Braves particularly great this year. They go in, they beat them. Did they sweep the Braves too? No, they lost one game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they lost one game. But they kind of dominated. Like the game they lost was close, and the three that they won were like mink, 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 mink. This offense has just been red hot. Bryce Harper is the true story here.
He's out of control right now.
He's out of control. And I mean,
Let me read you his playoff
ooh,
stats right
ooh,
now.
okay.
He's batting with a 419 average, 444 on base percentage, a 907 slugging. He got 18 hits, 6 of them are doubles, 5 of them are home runs, 11 RBIs, and only 7 strikeouts.
He's 18 hits in the playoffs.
18 hits and 10 runs.
My God. And I mean,
Yeah.
it makes sense, right? And it's one of those things too. Bryce Harper, he was on the Nationals all those years, and he's always been a good player. He's a two-time MVP at this point. He's always been a good player, but he hadn't made the playoffs with the Phillies yet, even despite his MVP season last year. The Nationals wind up winning a World Series the year he leaves. So there
Yeah.
was a little bit of a. I don't think anybody's doubted Bryce Harper's greatness, but we've kind of doubted like his ability to win a little bit.
Hmm.
And if there's ever been a postseason to put that to bed and just like, no, I'm that guy. I'm that guy. It's this one. He has gone absolutely insane. And I've been saying it really since that Cardinals series where I'm like, Bryce Harper's the best player in baseball right now.
Yeah. And I mean, he's shutting everybody up right now with everything you just said. He's silencing everybody, especially with that home run he hit last night to ultimately send them to the World Series.
Yeah, the
The-
call on that, first of all, I don't remember his name, so I apologize in advance for that. But the guy who was calling the Phillies game, he's going to be calling the World Series. And he hit it and he goes, the hit of his life. It was a great call. And it's the biggest and
yeah.
most important hit of his life. Opposite field home run. First, a guy throwing 102 while you're down a run at home to break the Phillies World Series drought. It
Yeah, man.
it's just really cool stuff. So I'm super happy for Bryce. Kyle Schwarber has been going off. This offense is going to be really, really difficult to stop. But if there's any team that can do it, it's the team on the other side. The Houston Astros have yet to lose a game in the playoffs. I'm
Crazy
not.
run they're
I'm
having.
not convinced they're going to, because Altuve, Kyle Tucker have not played particularly well. And those are
No.
their two best players to me outside of Jordan, who also didn't play particularly well in this Yankees series. So they just steamrolled the Yankees in a 4-game sweep off just the strength of Alex Bregman, Pena, and a little bit of Chas McCormick. And if any of those other guys get rolling, the Phillies actually have no chance. I want that to be
It,
out there. They actually have zero
it's gonna
chance.
be really, really hard unless you just get a all-time performance out of Bryson and boys.
Which hey,
Like
they've been
you're
they've
gonna
been
need every
scoring.
bit of them. They
They've been
have.
scoring, and that
They
offense is
have.
hot.
Yeah,
But
but
there's a difference
eh,
between the Padres pitching staff and the Astros pitching staff by a pretty wide
yeah,
margin too.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the emergence of Jeremy Pena, like you said, he led them this series, and he's going off in the playoffs as well. So shout out to the rookie,
Yeah,
because
I mean he's just
man,
he just replaces an Astros legend in Correa and is arguably better than him right away. It's disgusting.
yeah, the pitching is going to be scary. It's going to be really, really scary. And I mean, we're going to see what the Phillies got for them. But you look across the board with like in terms of playoff stats right now, they're leading the pack in a lot of it. They're second in ERA, first in like shutouts, first saves. Well, they're both tied with saves, but they're also a little less taxed. They've only pitched about 72 innings.
Yeah, they haven't done anything. I mean, the Phillies had literally 2 extra games
uh,
just because of the wild card, and then they have to play an extra game because they
uh,
didn't sweep either of their other series, so they got 4 extra games on the Astros.
they got 97 innings pitched right now to the Astros 72. So arms are a little rusted.
Yeah, I mean they're getting a couple days off. I don't remember when
Friday.
it's Friday. Oh yeah, then they're gonna be chilling. Zach Wheeler pitched last night. I doubt he goes game one, but Aaron Nola going game one is just not an issue, and then Wheeler probably goes game two on normal rest. And
Shout out to both teams literally ending on the same day. And now there's just no excuses.
there's
Oh, this
no
team won
excuses. Yeah,
seven.
there's none of that.
You both got plenty of time off to rest, to chill out, to get ready. Clean slate. It's going to be a fun World Series.
I think it's going to be a fun World Series. I don't think it's going to necessarily be a good World Series.
No?
But I think it's going to be a fun one. I think the Astros are going to win in 5, is my prediction. I think they do lose a game. This is not going to be a Warriors run from a couple of years ago. But I think they win in 5.
I'm probably going with Astros in 6. I
Okay.
feel like the momentum Philly got right now,
Can get them a win or two, yeah.
yeah. Especially when they go back to Philly too.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely like them to take the series to 6, but I do think the Astros are a better team and they pull it out.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. One of my least favorite things that people in media, and we do it every now and then, is when we're not sure, or we're like, oh, playoff magic, so we just say, this team that should be favored in 7 just cuz. Like, no. If this team's better, I'm gonna tell you they're better, and I think the Astros are significantly better,
Oh,
despite the Phillies
absolutely.
being significantly hotter, which is crazy because the Astros still haven't lost a game, but I think the Phillies are way hotter. Um,
Yeah,
it's kind of weird how that works, but like, I don't think that matters. Go Phillies though.
absolutely go
Go Phillies
Phillies.
though.
We're
Go Phillies
we're
though.
Philly fans for the rest of the MLB
Absolutely. Hey,
season.
shout out to my boy Darian, Ryan Howard's boy over there. That's my boy. We're rooting for the Phillies for you. Rooting for him for you,
Shout out Darren.
dude. Shout out Darian. And while we're talking about Philly, I mean, they're in the World Series and they have the only undefeated team left in the NFL. They are on bye this week, but that doesn't mean that they can't still be a winner because they didn't lose. They still never lost. They still
Never
never
lost.
lost.
Never lost. They're
But
not
it
going
is
to either.
week. What week is it? 7? Yeah, week 7
7.
in the NFL. We got some winners and losers, and this is the first week, and we kind of say this every time, but this is the first week where I think I'm really truly confident that a team is good or bad, or like where I view a team. Like I think I have a pretty good idea as to who everybody is at this point. I don't know if you agree or not, but
Yeah, this is a good point in the season because you get the first like 3 weeks. It's like, okay, you might have got a fluker, you might
you might
have
have had an easy
snuck in a win.
schedule. Yeah,
Cool. But we're 7 games in right now.
yeah.
And football, like you could tell. You could tell. If you haven't at least tried to adjust by this point, and there's still very good chances that teams that might be looking bad right now could adjust.
And
But
there will be one or two. There will be
there
one or
will.
two.
But you could see the trajectory happening if that is going to happen. Like if
Mhm.
you're getting just blown out after blowout after blowout, you're not you're not righting the wrongs.
Yeah,
Your demons are winning.
they
Sorry
are
about
they
it.
are they are fighting back and they are winning.
Yeah.
And let's just go with winner number one. I think this is the easiest winner of the week, and I think that if you're not paying attention to this team, it's time to maybe start the Cincinnati Bengals. They are winning in a different way than they won last year. They are 4-3 right now. Two of their losses came off last second field goal attempts and successful attempts by the other team. If either of those miss or both of those miss, this team has one loss. Okay. So they have been playing good football all year. It's just been ramping it up to be like the dominant team we kind of expected them to be. They get a home game against the Falcons. The Falcons come off a good win off the 49ers last week. Granted,
Yeah.
the 49ers were hurt. It wasn't really a good 49ers team that they saw, but they got in there. They got a big dub, and the Falcons have looked better this year. And Joe Burrow is the game of his life. I mean, he almost does 500 yards,
Hmm.
over 80% completion percentage, 3 touchdowns. He rushed for a touchdown. Joe Mixon looked good. Tyler Boyd. That's what's crazy about the Bengals, dude. Tyler Boyd is a wide receiver one on like 7 teams in this league. And he's their third
Yeah.
option. He's their third option. He had 155 yards and a tutty. And he's like big play kind of potential guy, right?
Absolutely.
The crazy part about the Bengals, and I don't want to last too long on them, but you can't name a single player on their defense. But I think they're the second best defense in the league. Like the way that they get after it, and they're always having QB pressures, and every single quarterback is just uncomfortable against them. The most points they've given up is 26, and that was in New Orleans last week. It was a comeback game too, so it was one of those kind of a deal. But outside of that, they have not given up over 20 this season, and they've played some decent offenses. Like they held the Dolphins to under 20. They held the Ravens to under 20, even though they lost that game. The Falcons' offense has actually been pretty efficient this year for the most part. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you look at their next 2 games before the bye, they got the Browns and the Panthers coming up. So you would think they just continue as they're moving right now and just keep on building on what they got going on over there. So absolutely. And
yeah.
the game from Burrow.
Yeah.
Good
If you're
Lord,
a
bro.
Bengals fan, I'm sure you started the season a little bit uncomfortable. They're 4-3 now. The record doesn't look great. This is the best 4-3 team in the league. So they're better than a lot of one-loss teams. I'm gonna tell you that right now. They'll tell you that right now.
Oh man. We're gonna switch it up to a loser
Okay.
because this team right here, if they didn't win a couple weeks ago against the Falcons, they would have lost 5 in a row. And if I ask you which team am I talking about that, oh, they would have lost 5 in a row. I'm talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
They just lost to the Carolina Panthers. And I'm not talking about they lost in a close dogfight, went down to the wire. No, 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 no. They let the Carolina Panthers, the tanking, we just traded Christian McCaffrey because we don't have a future right now. Carolina Panthers. That they just put 21 points on your head and only let you score 3 points. Carolina Panthers. That is embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
That's really just disappointing to the fans.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady's cooked.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at their next 3 games, I don't think they might even win any of those.
So what are they playing?
You got the Baltimore Ravens, you got the
L.
Los Angeles Rams,
L.
and then you got the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh,
That's their best chance.
it's not. Their best
And
chance
you
is
got
against the
Geno
Rams.
Smith, who is looking like one of the
It's not.
best QBs in the league.
It's not. Geno's gonna put 30 on them. The Bucks can't score 30. They just can't. It's not possible. They don't have it.
So I don't know what's going on over there. Well, we do. We do. We just don't know what's going on at the house.
Yeah.
But oh man, this is bad.
Well, and
This is
and I
really
mean,
bad.
it's pretty easy to see what's wrong with the Bucks, right? What's something that I've been saying the last couple of years? The NFL is a quarterback league, and if you don't have a good quarterback, and if you don't have a good O line, if you don't have a good D line, you're not going to be good. And guess what? Right now, the Bucks don't have a good quarterback because Tom Brady is just like not mentally there, and he's not doing like the supernatural things that he's done in the past. Like he's not playing poorly, but like and he doesn't have a good O line. This O line is hurt. They are young and they are not very good, and they have the worst running game in football. And when you have the worst running game in football, and there's no holes for the running backs to get through, and now all you're throwing is checkdowns because not only is the O line bad at run blocking, but they're bad at just blocking in general. You have no time to get the ball out to your wide receivers. And then when you get wide receivers open, this game was over the second that Mike Evans dropped a 75-yard touchdown. He was wide open. It was a perfect throw from Tom. Perfect.
Yeah.
And that game was over the second that happened because the way that Tom's been this year, he's not that cool, calm, collected guy anymore. That happens, his brain goes into triggered mode, like a guy playing CS:GO and he's angry, right? He's
And usually for Tom, that'll be good. Like Tom playing from behind is usually the most dangerous creature on planet Earth. Like you don't want to have Tom Brady mounting a comeback against you, but right now, you get up on Tom, it's chalk.
It's chalk, and
you got him.
And you mentioned it too. The Panthers. I think this is a loss for the Panthers too. There's no reason they should have won this game because now they're a game behind the Bucks, and they're 2 games out of first place or a game and a half out of first place. Like this division's horrible. Which I expected this division to be pretty bad. Honestly, I didn't think the Saints were going to be this bad, but I expected it to be a step back, especially with the injuries the Bucks had. I didn't think the Bucks would be 3-4.
No, there is no part of me that thought we would be seeing what we're seeing right now.
But I do want to shout out to Baker Mayfield because Baker Mayfield came in here and they're like, hey, let's trade for Baker. They only give him a 5th, so like whatever. But like, hey, let's go get Baker. Maybe he can make this product a little bit better. And Baker literally took what the Panthers maybe had cooking and burned it to the ground. Baker. You suck. Like, bro, like you ruined the Panthers. They had hope coming into this year. Like they had legitimate hope because they're like, hey, McCaffrey's coming back healthy. Our defense actually looks really good and really young. Now if we just get a good quarterback, DJ Moore is here. Like, we got a good little team.
Yeah.
Brother. And I mean, they really need help on the O-line, like desperately. So I'm happy they're not winning this year. But hey, the Panthers trade Christian McCaffrey. They get a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and next year's 5th. So this coming draft, they have a 1st-round pick, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, 2 fourths. Draft 3 O-linemen with all those picks. And then with your 1st overall, hopefully it's low enough that you can get either CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, which might not happen now because you won this game like a bunch of bozos.
And there's so many bad teams right now fighting for that last place.
So many bad teams, bro.
Like I'm looking at the standings right now, and it's like
it's a little too early to be on tank watch because teams are still trying to win. I think the Browns. I think the Browns are still trying to win despite them being 2-5, and I think they're a better team than 2-5. But like, how much better?
I only put Jacksonville, Houston, Detroit, maybe Chicago, and Carolina on like tank watch.
Yeah. I think that's a good transition too to my next loser for the week, and kind of the loser for the last couple is the Detroit Lions. Bro, what happened to the Lions? This offense was firing on all cylinders. They looked really good. They still weren't winning games, but the offense was looking really good. First of all, Jared Goff fooled us. So shout out to Goff.
I don't know who us was.
Shout out to Goff making us sip the Kool-Aid. Well, because Goff has like led good offenses in the past, right? It's never been him, but he's been there for good offenses, and he is just showing that if St. Brown's not there, he's cooked. He is clearly a product of his skill position players. And no DeAndre Swift, no St. Brown, washed. And the Cowboys defense is really, really good. And that's probably one of the winners this week is just like the Cowboys in general because they forced 5 turnovers. That defense is like insane. I think they lead the league in turnover differential before this week and they get +5 on it. Like pretty good stuff from them. But the Lions, any hopes that people might have had by like week 3 or 4, even though they're 1-3 of them making a run, are so dead. This team's not going to be competitive at all in terms of like playoff pushes, and that's good. They shouldn't win. They're doing it the
Yeah,
right way. Just like scoring 6 is a bad look.
absolutely. I'm gonna give you a two-piece winner because as long as they keep on winning, this Wombo combo gonna be a winner. New York football. And I mean, you could throw the Bills in there too. They're doing their thing, obviously. We know that.
Yeah, we
But
know
the
that.
Jets and the Giants, shout out to Brian Dable and Robert Sala because you could just feel an energy shift with these two teams. Like they come into every game expecting that they're going to win and they're playing good teams and beating them. And the fact that
Wait, Jaguars and Broncos are good?
no, but you
Nice.
play.
I just needed a check there.
I'm
That's all.
you
We're
you
good.
got the Packers. I know the Packers are on whatever slide they're
Oh,
on, but
just
you
wait
got
till the next loser.
I'm waiting for it. But you got the Ravens on there too. Like beat the Dolphins. Like you've beaten good teams. It's not like just clunkers every week.
Yeah.
But they're going in and they're fighting, and the energy is crazy with it. And the fact that we're even here talking about Jets and the Giants being winners this late into the season, and like not moral winners. And we talk about moral victories all the time, and we haven't even started talking about them this season.
None. Zero. There haven't
We
been
haven't
many.
even
There haven't
talked
been many
about
yet.
them at all. We usually start getting the moral victories around like
Around now. Yeah, around now.
I was thinking more like week 10, 11. You start getting those because that's when you really start turning the corner, which way.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, you got the 6-1 and the 5-2 New York Giants and Jets. So shout out to the
Dude,
boys. They're winners.
big shout out to the boys. They are absolutely winners. Did we hear about what happened with Brees Hall? It wasn't an ACL. Is he out for the year?
I haven't saw anything official yet.
Okay, well, if Brees
I've
is
I've,
out,
I've
that's
heard
yeah.
I've heard that they're expected to think it's a ACL, but they're gonna do tests in the morning.
Gotcha.
So.
Hopefully it's not because he was really starting to break out, and that's obviously a big part of the Jets' offense. And I
Absolutely.
mean, it's kind of the same way over there in the other side of New York. The Giants are kind of a Saquon show, and that's like how they're winning. Saquon and their like front four. Their front four has been insane, getting so much pressure. Thibodeau has been just like a game changer for them on defense. And I don't know if it's like the energy he brings or whatever, but like the rest of those guys over there, like turning into dogs as well. And listen, the Giants won this game by a single yard. The Jags had a last play. They got stuffed at the one. And you know what that is? It's just like resiliency, right? It's just, hey, if we want this win, we're going to stuff you at the one. And winning close games is one of the biggest skills that you can have in this league. Because guess what? Like, yeah, they barely beat the Jags. It was in Jacksonville, though. And come week 13, if the Giants are in playoff contention still, we're not going to be like, oh, well, in week 7, they barely beat the Jaguars. No, because they won this game. And yeah, this offense is limited. And I'm going to say it every week that we talk about the Giants. This offense is limited. But the defense makes it so it doesn't matter that their offense is limited. And unless they're playing in a shootout, which obviously they haven't played the Bills, they haven't played the Chiefs, they haven't played the Vikings, they haven't played the Eagles. I don't think they've played the Eagles yet. They haven't been in a shootout game yet, right? And those teams would kind of force them to play a shootout. And they're likely
And those are going to be the true tests.
Yeah, and they're likely not going to win those games if it turns into a shootout. Yeah. But we'll find out when we get there. I know they play the Vikings. Obviously, they play the Eagles twice. I don't know what the rest of their schedule looks like, if they have any games of that nature. But even if they have 3 of those and they wind up with 4 losses, oh no. Oh no. Yeah, they got the Eagles.
They don't got the Eagles until week 14.
Yeah, they got the Eagles
and the
twice.
Vikings week 16.
Yeah, they get Eagles, Commanders, Vikings, Colts, Eagles. So they got 3 tough games there at the end of the year.
But hey, if you're able to take care of business through that middle part of your schedule, like you're looking at being a playoff team by that time for the Giants.
Actually, a good test for them is going to be next week. They play the Seahawks in Seattle next week. If the Giants can win that game, I will think very, very differently of them as a team. I don't expect them to win that game.
No.
I don't expect them to win that game.
Yeah, because right now you're just a spunky underdogs making it happen, and that's awesome. Like you guys maybe could sneak into the playoffs, but nobody's really like looking at you to be a contender
I
in the
think I
playoffs
think
at all.
they're I think they're a spicy team once they get into the playoffs because how defense
Yeah,
plays. But
yeah.
it's a tough season, man, and things and narratives switch in a heartbeat. And
Oh,
here's the best way to
absolutely.
go about that, right? The Packers start their year 0-1. Fine. They've lost openers before. They've bounced back. Then
All good.
they win 3 in a row, and you're like, oh, here they go. They're doing that Packer thing again. Who did they wind up beating in that 3? They beat the
They beat the
Bears.
Bears, the
Bears suck.
Bucks.
They beat the Bucks. They beat the Bucks by 2, which
Yeah,
at the time felt like, ooh, that's a big win. No.
yeah.
And they beat the Patriots by 3, and the Patriots by 3 is actually a pretty good win because the
In
Patriots are start.
OT.
Yeah, the Patriots are starting to look good, but that was with Bailey Zappi's first game. If they played again and Bailey Zappi started, I don't think they beat the Patriots.
Yeah.
Then they go and they play the Giants, the Jets, and the Commanders. This, if you look at the schedule, is the easy, soft part. You get the free wins. In theory, you were looking at this like 6-game stretch between the Bears and the Commanders. You're like, okay, we lose to the Bucks maybe, and we end this 5-1, and that's the low end. Like that was the low side if you were a Packers fan. And you're
Yeah.
thinking, okay, we're coming out of this 6-2 or 7-1. Then we go play the Bills in Buffalo. Whatever happens there, cool. No, they lose 3 in a row in anemic offense games, and you lose to the Washington Commanders. You lost to Taylor Heineke and the Washington Commanders. Shout out to Heineke. He's better than Carson Wentz. I don't think any of us had a doubt in that. I think there was a little bit of hope that Wentz could come back to that once MVP, and we've kind of been hanging on to that. Wentz had one
Mhm.
good season, and he's been getting jobs based off that season for years.
Hey. Shout
And
out to the
it's
resume.
kind of embarrassing, but like, yeah, shout out to the resume.
That's why you lie in the
Glimmers of
resume.
hope are a terrifying thing, right?
Yeah.
Taylor Heineke's better than Carson Wentz, and he played better in this game when it mattered. I mean, Carson Wentz, we've seen him fold in times of like, we need you to get down the field and like make a big play, and he's like crumbled. It's kind of why they're 3-4 in Washington and not 4-3 or 5-2 even.
Yeah.
Rodgers was horrible when it mattered. And then at the end of the game, he kind of got his stat pads like Rodgers loves to do. There's nobody that stats their pads or pads their stats, dear Lord, better than Aaron Rodgers, unless it's maybe Kirk Cousins. Carson Wentz is actually in that mix too. But like at the end of quarters and halves, there's like, oh, here's 45 yards to make my numbers look good because they're playing, soft coverage and I can get it to a guy and they run for 15 extra yards. Yeah, I'm great. He didn't even have 200 yards in this game. Now, the Packers' issues are mainly that the receivers are terrible. I think if they had a number 2 receiver on this team, they'd be way better. Alan Lazard's just not that good. Sorry about it. Sammy Watkins, horrible.
Terrible management.
But boy,
Terrible management.
the Packers are 3-4, and we're
Smoking on that cheese pack.
smoking on that cheese pack. Rodgers and Brady being washed is the best thing of all time.
And the fact that after these 3 wins that you should have had, but they're all losses to, in theory, should have been bad teams. After that, you got to play the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo.
They're going to get stomped. They're going to lose by 40.
And I brought up the moral victories. That is going to be the most demoralizing loss.
When do you think the last time that the Packers have lost 4 in a row was?
I could try to do a deep dive real quick.
I couldn't even kind of tell you the last time they lost 4 in a row. It's probably at least a good 10 years ago. And after the Bills, they get the Lions. And if they don't bounce back against the Lions, if they lose 5 in a row, I will be doing an Irish jig on that episode. Episode 162. Be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for 162. I might go ballistic.
Okay, so back in 2016, they lost 4 games in a row, and it was week 8 to week 11, and it was to the Falcons, the Colts, the Titans, and the former Washington team.
Okay, so they lost to Andrew Luck, MVP Matt Ryan. Jeez. Oh, God.
Yeah, that was the last time they
It was a while ago. That's 6 years ago.
and the funny thing is they finished that year
They
10 and
won.
6.
Yeah, they won every game to end the
Yeah,
year.
10 and 6.
That was the Rodgers run the table year, if I'm not mistaken.
They lost week 2 against the Vikings, and they lost yeah, they won every game after that.
Yeah, that was the
stretch.
because Rodgers was like, oh, because they were like out of contention, and Rodgers was like, oh, I guess we'll just run the table, and then they did. I remember that being like a big ESPN thing. They're like, oh, well, who you doing? Oh, who you doing?
Yeah, they lost in the conference championship to the Falcons, and we all know what happened after that.
Yeah, that was a rough one.
28-3.
28-3, baby.
It's crazy looking at little details.
Little details are awesome. They really are.
Oh man,
They really are. Do we have any other winners, real quick? I'm sure we do.
Um,
I did say the Cowboys defense, just to sprinkle in there. They look amazing. They're the best defense in football.
I'm gonna give a big shout out to the Seattle Seahawks for being a winner, for moving past Russell Wilson and landing with Geno Smith, because Geno's been great. Nothing short of it. So, and the fact that Russ is doing so bad, so just abysmally bad, and Geno Smith of all people, they wrote him off, but he ain't right back.
Balling. He's doing well.
Balling.
It's cool.
So shout out Geno.
Shout out Geno. I also want to say shout out Patrick Mahomes. The 49ers, despite their record, they're under 500 now. I still think are a top 3 favorite in the NFC, especially with getting Christian McCaffrey. He didn't play great, but he also was only on this team for like 3 days. So like I'm not gonna hold that to him. But shout out to Mahomes, because he's been literally, by QBR, the worst quarterback in the fourth quarter in football coming into this game. He had a 50 quarterback rating coming into this game in the fourth quarter.
Crazy.
And he did well in this fourth quarter. They scored 16 points. So I do want to shout him out on that, because that is a big deal. Because getting him going for all phases of the game is scary. They scored 44 against the second best defense in this league. They're still not fully healthy, but I don't care. We do not care.
We do not care.
We do not care. And yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. Go Chiefs. Good for them. Vikings on bye week. I was sad. I was very sad. I don't even know who we play this week. I think we play Arizona.
I'm living the time of my life right now.
Yeah, dude, it's nice. It's nice. Imagine not having 5 wins right now. Imagine being a football fan, Bert, and not having 5 wins.
I couldn't imagine it.
I couldn't do it. It's actually kind of sad.
Like,
it's kind of sad.
That's just unheard of.
Yeah, it's gross.
Simple.
Yeah.
You're telling me you're not great? Couldn't be us.
No shot. No way. Speaking of great, go Ducks, too. I'm going to throw that out there.
Let's go Ducks.
They balled out this week. They played UCLA. They had college game day in Eugene. We don't talk about college football too much, but got to get my licks in when I can. They had college game day, and they balled out. 45-30.
Another little pivot. Shout out to our boy, Marquez Forrest, the Black Clover. 8-0, number 1 in Florida for the welterweight division. Number 2 in Southeast of the United States. He's now a 5-time champion, 2 times in 2 different divisions for Vigilant MMA. Man's going crazy. That's our boy. Just got a dub this weekend. Spectators were out there. So, big shout out to that.
Big shout out to that. He announced he's going pro sometime soon, too. So,
y'all be ready.
Dude. Proud of you, brother. Yeah, that's big
Absolutely.
time. That's big time. Cool to see somebody we're close with and around balling. Very good to see. And then before we get out of here, like I mentioned at the top of the episode, the NBA is in its young start of the season.
Very young.
And the best thing about the NBA, and I say this with my buddy Nick all the time, the NBA is the best reality television around. It's the best. Like you have your daily novellas, right? Your General Hospitals and All My Children. You got those, and then there's the NBA because that's the
Yep.
morning, and then this is the night shift. This is the 7 p.m. one. The NBA is awesome, and it's all about storylines. We're not going to talk too much about the games that have happened so far, but I want to talk about the storylines that you're looking just to see how they play out and how you think they're going to play out going through this 2022-2023 season.
I want to see how long Russell Westbrook is on this Laker team,
Ooh.
and not only Russ, because it's a shame to put the blame of bad management of a franchise
It's
all
not
on
all
one
him.
player.
Yeah, it's not all him.
It's definitely not all him, but he is the name that they're going to dangle with all the nonsense. So he is going to be the one that's going to get moved, regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see what happens with that and what this Laker team does with their team, because the fact that after game one, you got LeBron saying that this team just isn't built to shoot. It's not like we're in game 50 and like everything's unfold. This is game one. Like, think about that. This is
Pretty
game
bad.
one. That's like coming out the gates. It's opening night. You guys lose, and this is any sport. You guys lose. You go to the podium, do your presser, and you just come out and say, for your best player to come out and say, "Oh yeah, we're not winning nothing this year," huh? Like, excuse me. That's terrible.
You want to hear how bad the Lakers are right now?
I would love to hear how bad the Lakers are right now.
They're 0-3, right? We know
Mm-hmm.
this. They lost last night to Dame. Shout out to Dame. He's playing better
Same
after
dollar.
that first game he had. The Lakers are shooting. What do you think they're shooting from three? Let me get a guess.
Percentage.
What do you think they're shooting from three?
They've been terrible, so I'm gonna go with like 17% from.
Okay, not that bad. 21.2% from three as a team.
I,
As
I,
a team.
I was not that far off.
As a team. 21% as a team.
Yeah. That's bad.
1 in every 5 are going in.
That's bad. That is all time.
They're
bad.
shooting 40 a game and they're only making 21%.
At that point, when you know you're that bad at shooting, why are you shooting? I understand shooters shoot, like put it up, it's eventually gonna go in. I get that. But like, can we like get some mid range in there, drive a little bit, like try to get the ball rolling,
Well, here's
build
the
some
thing, bro.
confidence?
I would
like,
defend this team. I would play a zone and just like not let them get inside and just let them shoot threes. Because if on the high end they're shooting 40% on the day, whoa, the Warriors do that to us when we're pressing them. Like, whoa.
Yeah, like cool, bro.
Yeah,
Play a
dude.
little 3-2 on them.
Yeah,
You're
bro.
chilling. The Lakers might not win a game if the NBA team played zone on them. Oh my god.
Oh, bro. Yeah, so that's a storyline for sure. Just the Lakers and what's going to happen. Because they should be in win now mode. They have LeBron. And LeBron's been amazing. Let's keep that in mind. LeBron has not been bad. This is not a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers situation. LeBron's been great. Still. So that's a really good one. I want to switch to the West because the West, I feel like, doesn't have as many storylines, right? I feel like there's obviously storylines, but there's not like as many. But right away, John Morant this is a storyline for me. Is he gonna like hold up in this MVP caliber play that he has 3 games in? He's second in the league in points. He's almost at 35 a game. He's at like 8.5 assists. And he is like an explosion on offense right now, which you
Yeah.
kind of expected. You saw it at the end of the year, right? Like, this is not like overly shocking. What is it? It's 34, 3 boards, 7 assists right now. And the Grizzlies are 2-1. I don't know, man. Ja's looking incredible. And I wonder if he can hold it up. Is he gonna end up being like the best player in the West at the end of the year? I don't know. Jokic is obviously still there. LeBron's still there.
Yeah.
Steph still exists, but he's doing a really cool thing to start the year, and I want to see if that holds up.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that at all. I got a little bit of a homer one, just because this is probably prime time on the telenovela,
Oh yeah.
little prime time ratings. But the Brooklyn Nets, what is gonna happen with this team this year? You've had all the nonsense during the offseason. KD wants to leave. Kyrie wants to leave. Kyrie comes back. KD still wants to leave. KD comes back. You got Ben Simmons. How does this play out? Does it like just fall apart halfway through? Do they ride off into the sunset and this ends up being the juggernaut that it could potentially be? Does Steve Nash end up getting just yeeted out of the gates midseason? I don't know. Tune in next week and find out because
Yeah,
this is
right.
going to be wild. I'm really interested to see what happens. Not even just because they're my team. Like, these are some of the biggest names in the league, and you just don't know what could happen game to game. Like,
What
KD could send another trade request. Kyrie could sit out again. Like, who knows?
who knows,
I
bro?
don't know.
Sure as hell don't know.
So,
I want my version of the Nets storyline is just like, will Ben Simmons become light skinned Draymond Green? Is he gonna be the master of the quadruple single? Which the fourth in the quadruple is gonna be fouls apparently. Because we're 2 games in and Ben Simmons has 10 points total. I know he's not a shooter, but Ben Simmons was always like a scorer. Like, that was part of his game, that he was gonna give you like 18 to 22 a game. Like, that was always part of it. And he has given us 10 through 2. And granted, he fouled out in the first game. It was kind of embarrassing. He had more fouls than points. Game 2 is no excuse. I can't wait to slander him the rest of the year. It's going to be fun. I'm so excited for it. Another storyline, though, is going to be like, what happens with tanking, right? So, Victor Wembanyama, I can't pronounce his last name. I apologize.
I think you got it.
Okay, cool. Nice. He is the most prized and coveted #1 overall pick probably since LeBron. Might even be more so than LeBron. I don't think
I would say
I don't know if he'll be better. Like, that's not what I'm saying, but I think in terms
no.
of like tankitude and like, we want this guy. Yes, tankitude. Yes, that's a word. Oh yeah, I made it up. That's a word. He's probably the most coveted one in a long time. And there's a lot of teams that want him.
Yeah.
And so clearly one of them is not the Utah Jazz, because they're 3-0 to start the year, and I don't know what that's about. But I actually really want to know what that's about. Utah, stop winning. Please stop winning. But like, how is that gonna go? Because like, the Thunder, I don't expect them to win many games. The Rockets, I don't expect them to win many games. The Magic, to a lesser extent, I don't expect to win a whole lot of games. Who else is there? Like, the Kings should be better. The Spurs are 2-1, but I expect them to not win a whole lot either, because they're the youngest team in the league.
Yeah.
Who is gonna obviously tank for them? And then, is the commissioner gonna step in when they are obviously, and they're on a 24-game losing streak? Step in and be like, hey, no. Because that's what's going to happen, right? If somebody's like clearly tanking and they're like throwing games and it's obvious on the court, he's going to have to step in.
But what does stepping in even mean? That's what I want to figure out.
Removing ping pong balls, I don't really know. Like you could say, hey, you're clearly tanking, and the NBA is very anti-tank, right? That's the reason for the lottery to begin with. Like we don't want teams to
Yeah,
tank, and they expanded the lottery and they made the odds worse for the one and like the 1, 2, 3. Right? They made it a little bit worse so that you can't just be the worst to get the one pick. Like that's the reason for it.
yeah.
And so if you're just clearly trying to get the most ping pong balls, just take some away. I don't know.
And it's weird because I feel like it ends up being like a weird kind of gray area because it's like, what if a team just really is terrible and they look like they're tanking, but they're just dog water?
But that's never happened in this league, right? Like there's never been a
Yeah,
team that's come in and legitimately been an 8-win team. That's never happened. It never will happen.
no,
There's no team in the history of the NBA that can't win 13 games. It
yeah,
just isn't.
yeah. I'm just interested to see like what are the punishments or like the
I
slap on
wonder,
the
yeah.
wrist.
Yeah. I mean, if he doesn't step in this year, he never will. So I think it's a big year for that. Because again, this is the biggest draft in forever. I feel like this is what's the last like really big guy? I feel like Andrew Wiggins was super hyped up coming in.
Uh,
Um, I can't even tell you outside of
yeah,
that. Like, obviously, there's been great number one overall picks, but
yeah.
like last year's draft was good, but like there's like 3 or 4 guys that could have gone one overall. Anthony Davis, maybe. I think Anthony Davis is a good one. He was really hyped up. I don't know if you remember that, but Anthony Davis was like, that was like the undefeated Kentucky team. That was just like, damn, this guy's never gonna lose again.
I mean, they put the kid on on Team USA,
Yeah,
so
bro, he
it's
was on Team
like,
USA.
like, come on now.
Yeah, I remember that, and I'm like, why, bro?
Yeah, that was wild.
This is an all-time great, apparently. Could
Hey.
never stay healthy. Name a better combination than PB and J. Anthony Davis and injuries. It's so
Oh
bad.
man.
It's so bad. You got any other storylines? There's so many, but
Um, we get the sequel to a storyline. Shout out to last year when the year started and we were like, why? Why in the world are the Hornets, the Cavs, and the Wizards like in the top 6 of the NBA? Why? And then they stood there for a little minute. And here
yeah.
we are, 3 games into the
Wizards and
season.
Hornets fell off a bit, but the Cavs were actually like a team.
Yeah. So now here we are. We're looking at it again.
It's only 3 games.
And
I don't want to react. The Jazz are
no,
3-0.
I'm just saying that it's interesting that that's even happening again. So it's like I think the Cavs stay there because the Cavs are
They're built to win now.
easily a contender this year if like everything goes as according to plan. Like
Which it
they
never
can make a
does.
run.
Never
Never
does.
does, and tough. But that's why we love the beginning of the season. You got all the
Everybody has
hope.
hope. Everybody has hope.
You got new faces.
Besides the Rockets and and the Thunder, everybody has hope.
At least we don't got to see Spider in the new Jazz unis. So
That's true. That's true. But they're
it is what
better
it
in them.
is.
So yeah.
Ugh.
The last one that I want to talk about is Zion and the impact that he's gonna have on this Pelicans team. They've already won 2 games. Brandon Ingram's maybe the most not disrespected star because I don't think being the best player on like a team that just can't get out of like the play in is gonna be disrespectful. But I think Brandon Ingram is just really, really good. And now Brandon Ingram could maybe be the third fiddle on this team offensively. And that's gonna really open him up. They have 4 truly good offensive weapons if you're counting Jose Valanciunas, which I would add him in there. He's a pretty nice option. He's shot the 3 pretty
Mhm.
well as his career has gone on. McCollum, Zion, Brandon Ingram, Valanciunas is as good of a big 4 as there probably is in the league, especially if Zion comes back, which so far he has. He's scoring 22 a game, and he's looking as explosive. Looks thin. He looks athletic. He looks healthy.
What's up with the injury though?
I don't know. He came out of the game yesterday. I don't fully know what happened with that actually. It was like
It's
a
a
it was
hip.
like a
It's
hip
a
thing.
hip
Yeah.
injury.
I don't know if it was anything serious or not.
I don't either.
So maybe we'll find out more
He
about that. But
and then Ingram also left with a
yeah,
concussion.
and both are day to day. So I don't know. It's a hip contusion. I have no idea if that's like a big deal or not, honestly. But to be 3 games back, and that's the thing, is Zion going to be healthy for 60% of this season? Because if we get 60% of Zion, the Pelicans should be a playoff team and a pretty high seed too.
Yeah, but we get a full season of healthy Zion in his career. That's another
Probably not.
question,
Probably not.
and that's another very strong question.
Man, probably not. Zion's the running back of the NBA, right? Like he's gonna have a short life in terms of not we love Zion, don't die on me. A short NBA life. He just
Oh,
will. He's gonna have a short NBA life. He just will. The way he plays, it's very like downhill and getting hit and jumping a
very
lot and
yeah, very explosive.
being in lanes where there's feet and you're gonna land
It
on
it's
feet and
kind of like a Derrick Rose type thing. Hopefully, not with injuries,
yeah.
but just where you're constantly just being explosive, and you're
Yeah.
too explosive for your own good. And he's a big boy, so him doing that is just putting more strain on everything.
Everything.
And now the thing is, will Zion be able to like adjust his game down the stretch or like revitalize that second part of his career? If that does happen, hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully he's a high fly, just dominant in the paint in your face type. But it's hard to say at this point.
Yeah. You cut out a little bit there, but I think I got the vibe. Like, can he stay dominant? Can he stay as the same playmaker or
Yes.
player essentially? Yeah, and I mean that makes sense. And like, look at the high end for guys like this, right? Prime Russell Westbrook was like he never really got hurt. Like injuries weren't like a real thing for us for the most part of his career.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had a pretty lengthy career. He's been in the league what 12 seasons now, something along that. But even with him, like without the injuries, that career is very rapidly like deteriorating because the explosiveness is not there. If there's anything
Yeah.
in Russ's game that you're seeing, it's that he can't get to the bucket like he used to. And so he's relying on shooting more than he used to. And he was never a good shooter to begin with. So
Yeah.
that's the high end in terms of like this guy never gets hurt. But even then, if you're not getting injured, it's still taking a toll on you and your explosiveness eventually goes away.
Absolutely.
But we'll follow the Pelicans. I think that could be a really fun team if they are healthy, and I don't see why not that they could make any semblance of a run. I just don't because they have like those types of pieces and they have good defenders. Who
And
knows?
I was saying that's a possibility back when like it was Zion,
No, Josh
Lonzo,
Hart, yeah.
Ingram, Steven Adams. Like
This
I was
team's
like,
definitely
man,
way better now though. Like
yeah, absolutely.
CJ McCollum is better
Yeah,
than Hart and Lonzo and all them.
no, absolutely. You
Valanciunas is
are
a dog. Brandon
correct.
Ingram's better than he was, so
Yeah,
you have some guys, but we'll be looking at those, and we'll obviously be talking about more storylines as the season goes on. But those are just some of them that we're looking at. Again, it's a telenovela, and we're excited to be keeping up with it and watching. I'll definitely get more into it once the baseball season is over. But shout out to
I'm gonna
Omar
start.
for killing NBA content already. Big shout out to our dog. Hopefully, we'll have him on one of these episodes soon.
Maybe next week.
Because I
Let's see
know
what
he's
he's looking
talking.
like.
He's watching a lot more basketball than we are right now, so we can get the true
Mm,
insider.
I'm not watching the World Series.
That's
Oh, I'm gonna be watching
hey,
basketball.
hey,
Nah,
choosing pieces is nice. Choosing pieces is nice,
I'm watching it for you guys. That's
and
it.
only you.
That's the only reason because
For
I
you,
don't care.
baby. With you,
I don't care.
baby. With you. All right,
So
guys. Thank you so much for listening and/or watching. Be back next week for episode 161. We'll be talking a lot more basketball and week 8 of the NFL. and we'll
Gonna be
get into it.
Halloween too.
It'll be Halloween, so if you're watching it next Monday, you better be wearing a costume. If you're not, I'm gonna make fun of you for it because we'll be wearing costumes. I got my. We'll be wearing costumes. Yeah, we're dressing up.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. It's a Halloween. It's spooky. I'm going to put fog on the screen. It's going to be awesome. But
That's
thank you guys
crazy.
again. We'll see you next week. And stay tuned for any and all Spectators content at Spectators Media. Peace.